Buffy insists that she needs a day off from slaying to go on a date with a cute boy. She rambles a bit, but the gist of her argument is that Giles doesn't have a right to treat her like a slave. Just because she's got a sacred duty doesn't mean she isn't human. She has her own concerns and she has a right to take a break from slaying. Giles agrees, saying he's not entirely sure that Borba is the Anointed One, and he leaves Buffy to her date. She holds up a piece of antiquated technology and tells Giles to beep her if he needs her.
Call me Big Man if you wanna face me, when you wanna face me, it's okay.
This basic conflict becomes major later on, as it becomes evident that the Watchers have a tendency to literally treat Slayers like slaves. At this point in the show, Watchers are not treated so ambiguously or even much more than a joke, the weird part of life to contrast with the normal part of life. The conflict here is really just between student and trainer, with a flavor of supernatural horror. Some feminists don't like the way that Giles and Buffy start out so buddy-buddy based on the way Watchers are portrayed later on, but that portrayal is irrelevant to seasons 1 and 2. And even here, with the most basic manifestation of that basic Watcher-Slayer conflict, Giles is incredibly reasonable. He sees that Buffy is human and doesn't want to force her to go fight vampires. I think Giles is a feminist character. He's awesome. Go Giles! Giles heads to the funeral home on his own, while Buffy goes on her date. Owen talks extensively about his love for Emily Dickinson. He particularly likes the way that she writes about death, because he's so proto-emo. I think it's nice that a female poet receives the same kind of love as a male author, like that of Human Bondage in Season 4, Episode 1, The Freshman. Buffy doesn't really care about her, only Owen. But then Owen says he specifically likes Buffy because she's deep like him, and isn't a shallow girl like how Buffy actually is. Now Buffy's feeling insulted, and she wants Giles to beep her to rescue her from the date with another call to save the world from vampires. But he's too polite to intrude again. Owen's misguided compliment is in the same vein as Pike's,
"You know, Buffy, you're not like other girls."
It comes from this sexist worldview that men are the main actors in the world, while women are in constant competition with each other to be liked by men. Boys then think it's a compliment to insult other girls instead of just being respectful to this one girl. Mainstream society also has the idea that traits regarded as traditionally female are bad, so a girl would be seen as better for rejecting them. Buffy the Vampire Slayer rejects that sexism by respecting Buffy's traditionally feminine traits and making Owen look like a jerk.
Yes, I am.
She decides that talking's less desirable, so she leads Owen onto the dance floor. Cordelia tries to steal Owen away again, but Owen directly rejects her. That kind of female sexual competition parallels Xander and Blaine competing for Miss French and Teacher's Pet, so I don't find either example sexist. Teenagers are just horny.
I get it. Not the horny thing. Yuck.
Are you, having fun?
Yeah, I must feel like a girl.
And here is the line that pissed everyone off. Buffy apparently doesn't consider being a Slayer feminine, compared to dating. This is a little weird considering that the movie tried to make being a Slayer something like a metaphor for puberty, with menstrual superpowers and all. It's rather alarmingly problematic that the gender role reversal in making Buffy the action hero is seen as fake somehow, and not something consistent with feeling like a girl. But I would say that this is fortunately similar to Xander's creepiness in that it's only present in the earlier episodes. Certainly by the time the first Slayer comes calling, in Season 4, Episode 22, Restless, Buffy's Slayerhood and her femininity are inseparable. Cordelia, the sore loser, complains to her friend about how supposedly amorous Buffy and Owen are being. Again, it's slut-shaming where the joke is that Buffy isn't a slut. This time it's a little more positive though, as it incorporates the respect for sexual teenagers, as seen with Buffy ogling the Coco Pelli statue in Witch. Cordelia's complaining is swiftly interrupted when Angel walks in, and then all Cordelia can do is talk about how hot he is. That's the kind of appreciation for female sexuality that balances out Xander's ogling cheerleaders in Witch, and his general randiness in Teacher's Pet. She goes to pick him up and is insulted to see that he also only has eyes for Buffy. She'll have to wait till he has his own show. Angel goes to get Buffy to fight the Anointed One. Though Buffy is ambivalent towards Owen, she feels resentful of these guys trying to jerk her around. Angel thinks it's weird that she's trying to date when she's the chosen one, making her embrace Owen more. She and Angel have had kind of a flirty thing going on, so Angel feels jealous of Owen. It might have been wrong for Buffy to pursue Owen without checking her status with Angel, but that's the kind of ambiguity that makes Buffy a realistic character. She doesn't have all the answers, and she acts as a role model through stumbling through life like normal girls. Meanwhile, Giles gets in trouble without Slayer protection. The Master sends 2 Order of Aurelius vampires after the Anointed One, and they chase after Giles. He runs into the funeral home and barricades himself inside. Willow and Xander show up to help, saying that they'll get Buffy. To Giles' credit, he tries to preserve Buffy's date, but the 2 Slayerettes can tell that he's in danger and go to get Buffy. Owen is there, and they can't blow cover, so they pretend that they're dating and want to go on a double date to the Sunnydale funeral home. Owen is just that proto-emo to think that it's a great idea. This leads into the part that gives meaning to the title of Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. Buffy's on a date when she's slaying, and she has to keep her date from getting killed. It's essentially that annoying video game level where you have to keep an NPC alive, and he's always jumping in front of you while you're firing and taking stupid risks. Buffy tries to keep Owen safe by interrupting the date, giving him a kiss while Angel looks on with jealousy. This shows that Xander's slut-shaming conservatism is out of date. You can now kiss a boy on the first date, just not kill him. Of course, Owen follows her anyway. Buffy finds Giles hiding from the vampires. Giles warns Buffy not to send the others out of the funeral home, since they don't know where the vampires may be lurking, so she has them barricade themselves inside the funeral director's office, while she and Giles hunt for vampires. As it turns out, Borba is inside the office, and he wakes up as a vampire and attacks them while rambling about God and the apocalypse. Borba's ramblings are mostly nonsense, but people like to scrutinize everything he says. Basically, he thinks that Jesus has blessed him by making him a vampire, and his vampire instincts to eat people are divinely inspired as part of the apocalypse. He basically just repeats that over and over in different ways. Most vampires will immediately accept that they are profane instruments of, if not Satan, vaguely described evil forces, as with Holden Webster from Season 7, Episode 7, Conversations with Dead People. Borba is unique in that he sincerely believes that he's an instrument of God's will. He could just be crazy, but it seems like Satan or whatever power that is in charge of vampires told him to kill the forces of good, and he sincerely believes that he's fighting the forces of evil on behalf of God.
Why does he hurt me?
He just doesn't get it. The gang take off running while Buffy goes to fight Borba. Vampires show up. Owen goes to help Buffy. It's a frantic, chaotic scene. Giles helps Buffy, but Borba knocks him out, making Giles a useful character without stealing the show from Buffy. Owen fulfills the same basic purpose while also being a man in the refrigerator, or so it seems. Buffy gets in trouble, Owen saves her, Borba apparently kills him, and Buffy gains the strength to kill Borba based on that emotional surge. Owen turns out to be fine, making him more of a man in a walk-in freezer, but Joss Whedon likes to troll people with apparent deaths as much as real deaths, and Owen's apparent death is treated the same as Jesse and Dr. Gregory's men in refrigerator plot twists. Oh, and before Borba fake kills him, we get this gem.
Tried to bite me. What a sissy.
Well, you know what homophobia really means about you, don't you?
Yeah, some outright homophobia in early Buffy. This is the show with a groundbreaking lesbian romance, and the first lesbian sex scene to air on primetime TV in Season 7, Episode 20, Touched. It had a rocky start. Owen wakes up freaked out by Buffy, and Xander and Willow walk him home. The next day at school, Buffy thinks that he never wants to see her again, but he shows up and surprisingly has the opposite reaction. He displays what fans call Owenosity, based on a line of Xander's.
Sure, he's got a certain Owenosity, but...
He's a morbid guy, and he loved the excitement of the night before. He wants to be with Buffy, but not for the right reasons. He's a thrill-seeking adrenaline junkie now, and he sees her as a vehicle to thrill-seeking. He wants the second date to involve a bar fight. Buffy breaks up with him for his own good. She decides that Slayer life can't really mix with her school life, which serves the function of freeing up Xander and Angel as options. It also fits a common, rather condescending storyline about the usual male action hero deciding to give up domestic life, usually represented by a female character, for her own protection. The 2002 Spider-Man movie is a good example of that, with Peter giving up Mary Jane because with great power comes great responsibility. I find it really condescending, and that factor doesn't go away with the gender reversal, but it does make Buffy more of a traditional hero figure with her gender role reversal, so that's something. Though honestly, if Owen's an adrenaline junkie now, isn't he safer with Buffy? The part that I like about the breakup is that Buffy realizes that Owen doesn't respect her. Before, she was okay with pretending to be someone she isn't because she wanted to be with him, but she realizes that it's better to have a guy who actually respects her for her. And who knows, maybe in the future she'll come across some thrill-seeking poet who is actually able to respect her for her and keep up with her in a fight. Who knows? Giles and Buffy have a nice heart-to-heart. He says that he knows what it's like to be pulled into a destiny you don't want because his father made him become a watcher when he wanted to be a fighter pilot. Presumably, he wants to be a better father figure than his own father. Buffy apologizes, but Giles apologizes too. It's a really sweet moment. And then we find out that Borba was not the Anointed One after all. The Anointed One is in fact Colin, the little boy Borba scared. Dun dun dun.
Grr, arg.